what did you believe was going to happen if your son testified and cooperated against Erica?
Objection.
Overruled. She can answer if she knows.
Can you repeat the question?
What was your concern if your son Chad cooperated with the state of Ohio and testified against Erica?
Again, I mean, kids are always an issue.
Welcome back to Court TV Live, your front row seat to justice. I'm Julie Grant, and that was a little clip from the live trial we are covering this week out of Akron, Ohio. The defendant is Erica Stefanko, and in that clip, you saw her former mother-in-law, Cindy Cobb, giving testimony against her. And this is quite convoluted in terms of all the players involved, but Cindy Cobb's son is sitting in prison in the state of Ohio right now, convicted of this crime. And now Erica Stefanko, his ex-wife, is being accused of being an accomplice to him. And so the jury is out on their lunch break right now, which gives us some time to unpack the testimony that we've heard so far today and get you all caught up as they return at 1 o'clock. I want to bring in now Court TV legal correspondent Shanley Painter, who's standing by in Summit County for us to hit the highlights we saw this morning in the courtroom. Shanley, good afternoon.
Hey, Julie, it's been a big morning inside the Summit County courtroom with the mother-in-law or ex-mother-in-law of the defendant, Erica Stefanko, on the witness stand the entire morning, really giving jurors and all of us an inside glimpse into what life was like a little more than 8 years ago with Erica Stefanko, the defendant, the witness's son, Chad Cobb, as well as Ashley Biggs, the victim in this case. Some new revelations coming to light about Chad Cobb, who did plead guilty to the murder of Ashley Biggs back in 2013. But throughout the testimony in the morning, she talked about who Chad Cobb was, about the relationship with Biggs, the relationship with Erica Stefanko, the minor child that Biggs and Cobb had. And in the morning culminated with this audio recording that the witness, Cindy Cobb, made with Erica Stefanko, where she made some admissions. The jury, sitting on the edge of their seat, you could tell they were really trying to listen to everything the prosecutor wanted them to hear about Erica Stefanko allegedly saying that, yes, she was a part of this plan to murder Ashley Biggs back in 2012. Some of those high points, though, this morning had to do with the minor child of Chad Cobb and Ashley Biggs. In fact, we learned today that Erica Stefanko allegedly, there were allegations of abuse for the minor child who was a witness in this case. Let's listen to some of that testimony.
At some point later, did you find out that she had some issues with GC?
Yes, we did.
And what were you able to find out about the issues with GC and Erica?
She was abusive towards GC. At one point had fed her. GC had stated it was dog poop.
Objection. Hearsay.
Sustained.
Was there things that you found out from GC?
There was things I found out from GC, and there were things that Erica told me herself.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the things that Erica told you herself. First of all, did those things confirm what GC had told you?
Yes.
And what were the things that Erica told you herself in regards to the abusive nature of their relationship?
Objection, Your Honor. Relevancy.
Overruled.
You can answer.
I can answer. She had placed some kind of fecal material in yogurt and had eat it.
And when you say fecal material, are you talking about human or otherwise?
I thought it was dog poop. Erica told me it was otherwise, but something equally disgusting.
In addition to some of those really disgusting revelations and allegations against Erica Stefanko, when Ashley Biggs did want temporary custody, came into the picture and had custody of the minor child, Erica still said that she wanted custody. This was part of the phone recording. It was addressed in several clips. The jury was able to hear Erica's own voice saying how much she disliked Ashley Biggs, how much she really, while she did basically admit to this, what the witness said in that clip, she said it wasn't actually dog feces that she fed the minor child. Very disturbing, Julie. There was another big moment, though, for the testimony this morning, and that had to do with maybe some motivation or reasoning behind why Chad Cobb took a plea deal, confessing and admitting to the murder of Ashley Biggs back in 2012. Let's listen to that.
What concerns were there about the children that you had?
Where they would be housed.
All right. And why was that a concern if Erica was still involved? And Ashley would have been involved at that point, but if Erica was still around.
At this point, all the children were in foster care. Did not want to see them get adopted out.
All right. And so what did you feel was the way to not get them adopted out?
To get them back home.
And were you aware that the investigation into Ashley's death also included Erica as a suspect?
Yes.
And were you aware that there were requests made for cooperation from your son?
Yes.
Not only did Cindy's testimony imply and say that, yes, the care of the children was a factor for Chad Cobb in taking that plea, but it also was brought up multiple times in this audio recording that the jury was listening to right before lunch.
And Chad, I have a couple follow-ups for you, please. Did she say why the children were in foster care in the first place?
While after the murder of Ashley Biggs, they were placed in different places. I don't believe a clear answer, though, was given as to why. It's a little amorphous still at this point. But the topic was brought up several times about how that they were not going to implicate Erica Stefanko having any part of this publicly because they wanted to make sure that she could help take care of the children. They wouldn't go to foster care. And it seems to be almost sort of playing into this defense, what we heard in defense opening statement yesterday, of why maybe Chad Cobb would want to change his mind later on. Because also in this phone recording, Julie, we're hearing about how Mike Stefanko, her current husband, moved into the home just a month after Chad Cobb was arrested back in 2012, and that Erica Stefanko was already pregnant with Mike Stefanko's child at the time before he took a plea. So it's still really feeding into all these nuances of possible motivations that play both for the prosecution and maybe the defense.
Sure, there are a lot of players involved here, a lot of factors. It's you almost need a map of who was with who at the time, and it's a lot to take in. But if I can go back, the one really shocking thing that you touched on before was that allegation Cindy Cobb made about Erica Stefanko allegedly giving some sort of fecal matter in some food to that little girl. When you said Erica admitted to this, is this on that recording? Because I know that recording has been so tough for all of us to hear. And so I just wanted to clarify with you, Chanley, where did that admission come from? Was it actually on the recording, or was Cindy Cobb just saying, Erica told me this?
Well, they do broach the issue in the recording, and it's difficult to hear even in the courtroom to make out a lot of what is said, but we do have the privilege of a transcript and to kind of follow through if we can. And they do talk about that incident, and they talk about how Chad Cobb didn't know about that. He wasn't aware that it had happened at the time, and Erica Stefanko basically is talking about, yes, it did happen, but it wasn't really fecal matter. She may have thought she was eating it, but that's not really what I gave her. That's what I was reading in the transcript and hearing in the courtroom.
Okay, so she did not, just to be very clear here, because that is absolutely revolting if that were true.